They told you that mountains don't move, that some things in this world are fixed, permanent, unchangeable. They told you to accept your limits, to bow before the impossible, to make peace with the immovable objects that block your path. But they never met a man with steel resolve. Look around you. Every tower that scrapes the sky, every bridge that spans impossible depths, every tunnel carved through solid rock, these weren't built by men who believed mountains couldn't move. These monuments to human will exist because someone looked at the impossible and simply refused to accept it. There is something inside you that they don't understand, something that has always been there, waiting, a quiet power that doesn't need to announce itself with shouting or beating of chests. Real power never does. It speaks through action, through the steady, relentless pressure applied day after day after day until even stone begins to yield. This isn't about brute force. Mountains don't fear the storm that comes howling for a day. They fear the water that drips, constant, patient, unstoppable, for 1,000 years until the mountain has no choice but to crack open and make way. That's you. Not the lightning strike, but the force that reshapes the earth itself through sheer, unwavering commitment. When a man finds his steel resolve, the world changes around him. Not because he's louder than others, not because he was born special, but because he refuses to break when everything and everyone says he should. Because when the weight comes crashing down, and it will come crashing down, he doesn't crumble, he doesn't run, he plants his feet, grits his teeth, and bears it. And in that moment, something almost magical happens. The weight that should crush him instead forges him, making him stronger, more determined, more dangerous to anything that stands in his way. Think about the hardest times you faced, the moments when breathing itself seemed like a victory, when the darkness was so complete you couldn't see even a hint of light, when you had every reason, every justification, every permission to quit, but something in you wouldn't allow it. That something, that's your steel core. That's what separates you from those who fold when pressure mounts. Most men never discover this power within them. They exist in comfort zones, in safe spaces where their limits are never truly tested. They grow old wondering what they might have been capable of, never knowing the raw potential that slumbered within them, untapped and untested. What a tragedy to reach the end with your greatest strength still locked away inside you, a secret even from yourself. But not you. Something has awakened in you. Perhaps it was trauma. Perhaps it was loss. Perhaps it was simply a refusal to accept the ordinary existence that was laid out before you. Whatever sparked it, you felt it. That core of something unbreakable that burns inside when everything else is falling apart. Steel isn't born that way. It begins as something soft, malleable, unremarkable. It's the fire that transforms it, the hammer that shapes it, the cool water that sets it. Your pain, your struggles, your failures, these aren't punishments. They're the forge where your resolve is tempered. Every blow makes the steel stronger, more resilient, more capable of bearing unimaginable weight without breaking. Mountains move for men like you because you understand something fundamental that others don't. Persistence outmatches resistance, always. Given enough time, enough pressure, enough unwavering commitment, there is nothing that can't be overcome. The mountain doesn't stand a chance against the man who returns day after day, chipping away, never doubting, never yielding. Consider the ancient stonemasons who built the great cathedrals. Many of them would never live to see their work completed. They laid stones knowing they were building something that would outlast them by centuries. That's vision. That's playing the long game. That's understanding that some achievements require more than a single season of effort. They demand a lifetime of steady, determined action. Could you lay stones today for something you might never see completed? That's the question that separates men of steel resolve from mere dreamers. You felt it already, those moments when something shifted inside you, when you pushed beyond what you thought possible and discovered that your limits were largely imaginary, when you stood your ground while others retreated, when you kept going when every signal in your body and mind screamed at you to stop. Those weren't flukes. They weren't temporary bursts of adrenaline. They were glimpses of your true nature, the steel core that's always been waiting for you to recognize it and claim it. The world bends around this kind of will, not immediately, not easily, but inevitably. Like water cutting through rock, like roots breaking apart concrete, like rust consuming metal, persistent force always wins against static resistance. Always. The mountain may not move today or tomorrow, but with enough days, enough pressure, enough belief, it has no choice. Many will tell you this is foolishness. They'll call it stubbornness or delusion. They'll point to the size of the mountain and the limits of your strength and tell you to be realistic. These voices don't understand what real strength is. They measure force in moments, in single efforts. They don't comprehend the raw power of resolve applied consistently over time. These doubters aren't your enemies. They're simply trapped in a different understanding of how the world works. They believe in fixed realities. You understand that reality is malleable under the right kind of pressure. They see the mountain as permanent. You see it as just another obstacle that hasn't yet learned to fear your approach. Every great achievement in human history began as an impossibility. Flight, instant global communication, curing diseases that once decimated populations, traveling to the moon. These weren't accomplished by those who accepted the world as it was. They were brought into being by men and women who could see a different reality and refused to stop until the world matched their vision. You are cut from this same cloth. The steel in you recognizes no final defeat, acknowledges no permanent limitation. It bends but never breaks. It heats but never melts away. It bears weight that would crush ordinary materials, and with each test, each strain, each near breaking point, it only grows stronger. This isn't about ignoring reality or denying facts. Steel resolve isn't blindness to obstacles. It's seeing them more clearly than anyone else, understanding their true nature, and recognizing the precise points of weakness where persistent pressure will eventually cause them to give way. Think of water. Nothing appears softer, more yielding. Yet given time, water carves canyons through solid rock. It reshapes coastlines. It wears away mountains. Not through confrontational force, but through consistent, unstoppable action. There's wisdom here. Sometimes the steel in you will need to strike hard, to hammer against resistance. But often, your resolve will work best when it emulates water, finding the path of least resistance, flowing around obstacles, never stopping its forward motion, wearing down what cannot be broken in a single blow. The men who move mountains understand timing. They know when to push hard and when to conserve energy. They recognize when to strike directly and when to circle around. They feel when to speak with thunder and when silence serves better. This discernment isn't weakness, it's strategic wisdom. The steel in you isn't just about strength, it's about knowing precisely how and when to apply that strength for maximum effect. There will be dark days, days when your resolve feels more like burden than blessing, days when the mountain hasn't budged an inch despite your best efforts, days when everyone around you suggests that maybe, just maybe, this particular obstacle truly is immovable. These are the days that matter most. These are the moments that separate those who merely talk about greatness from those who achieve it. In these dark valleys, when progress seems impossible and failure feels inevitable, your steel resolve isn't just tested, it's revealed. And when you continue pushing forward even when every reasonable voice suggests retreat, that's when the mountain first begins to fear you. Because mountains have seen men come and go. They've watched armies march toward them full of confidence, only to turn back when the climbing got too steep. They've observed countless determined faces that eventually faded away as enthusiasm dampened and easier paths beckoned. The mountain doesn't fear your initial attack, it's seen that before. It fears your return, day after day after day. It fears the man who simply refuses to accept defeat, who treats temporary failure as nothing more than feedback, who learns and adapts but never, ever stops coming forward. That's why mountains eventually move for men like you. Not because you're stronger than the mountain, you aren't. Not because you can move it in a single heroic effort, you can't. They move because they recognize something in you that is rarer and more powerful than mere physical force. The absolute unshakable certainty that you will continue. That nothing, not time, not pain, not failure, not ridicule will stop your advance. And faced with such resolve, even mountains begin to tremble. Your ancestors knew this truth. They didn't have machines or technology or modern advantages. They had persistence. They had courage. They had the ability to endure beyond what seemed possible. Look at the ancient wonders that still stand today, the pyramids, the aqueducts, the great walls that stretch across landscapes. These weren't built by superior technology. They were built by men who refused to accept limitation, who kept placing one stone upon another, day after day, year after year, until the impossible stood completed before them. This legacy runs in your blood. The capacity for this kind of resolve isn't something you need to create. It's something you need to uncover. It's already there, waiting for you to strip away the hesitation, the self-doubt, the learned helplessness that keeps it dormant. Steel resolve isn't about never feeling fear. The mountains will frighten you. Their shadows will fall dark across your path. Their heights will seem insurmountable. Feel that fear, then move forward anyway. Resolve isn't the absence of doubt. It's the decision to act despite it. The steel in you doesn't mean you never question yourself or your path. It means those questions don't have the power to stop your advance. Somewhere right now, someone is facing the same mountain that stands before you. Someone with the same limitations, the same obstacles, perhaps even less advantages than you possess. And that person is moving forward, step by determined step, not because their mountain is smaller or their burden lighter, but because they've connected with that core of steel resolve that exists within them. Just as it exists within you, What separates you from them isn't capability, it's choice. The choice to acknowledge the steel within you. The choice to test it, to trust it, to let it bear the weight that would crush a weaker material. The choice to keep moving forward when retreat seems like the only sane option. This is the paradox of steel resolve. It grows stronger through challenge. The very obstacles that should break you instead temper you. The weight that should crush you instead compacts you into something harder, more resilient, more dangerous to anything that stands in your way. Your setbacks, your failures, your moments of greatest doubt, these aren't evidence that you should turn back. They're the exact conditions required to forge the unbreakable will that eventually moves mountains. Mountains move for men like you because they recognize something in your approach that is different from the thousands who came before and fell away. They sense the water-like quality of your persistence, the absolute certainty that you will find a way through, around, or over. Given enough time, enough pressure, enough unwavering commitment, even stone has no choice but to yield. This is your birthright. This is your potential. This is the power that sleeps within you, waiting to be claimed. Not the fleeting strength of momentary motivation, but the enduring power of steel resolve that continues long after motivation has faded, that pushes forward when there's nothing left but raw will and the refusal to be defeated. The mountain before you now, whatever form it takes, has no idea what it's up against. It sees only your physical form, your apparent limitations. It doesn't yet understand that housed within that mortal frame is something that has moved mountains since time immemorial. Human will focus to its sharpest point. Human persistence extended beyond reasonable limits. Human courage burning brightest in the darkest valleys. Claim this power. Own this truth. Step forward with the quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to prove his strength because he knows exactly what burns within him. The steel in you doesn't need to announce itself with noise. It speaks through action, through the steady, relentless pressure applied day after day, until even mountains begin to whisper your name with respect. They told you that mountains don't move. They were wrong. Mountains absolutely move. They just need the right kind of man to make them. That man is you.